In a small town in Massachusetts, a group of friends, fascinated by the internet lore of the Slender Man, try to prove he actually doesn't exist, when mysteriously, one of them goes missing. So I didn't end up spending my Halloween night. I got too busy, so I'm just gonna wait 2 weeks after Halloween. So it opens up, and this is a big problem for especially found footage movies. We're looking at 3 or 4 friends, and they're teens, and they're just having fun. It's the most cliched, boring dialogue ever. It's almost like easily seeing how adults think teens act. It is so painful and boring. It reminds me of something I'd write when I was like 13. So that's what happens with a lot of horror movies, especially newer ones, is that the introduction always sucks, but when the actual scares start, it really picks up. Now, this is a movie to see if you're not in the mood to laugh. If you're one of those people that laughs at all horror movies, this is definitely one of those. But you know, if you get genuinely scared by a lot of horror movies, the mood is dire. It is so serious. They know when to use music and when to not. So the music can get so loud and then it could get just really quiet. And this is something that I forgot to mention in The Grinch. What The Grinch really failed at doing was incorporating its music, because it seemed it was so half-assed on everything. It's just whenever there's supposed to be like a cute moment, a little emotional moment, they whip out the piano, they whip out the violin, and then when there was just some goofy moment, they put a wah wah, and then when there was big swooping around of Whoville, they knew when to do the big bombastic, whimsy. It stays for so short of a time. This is a movie that knows when to turn that music on, that score, and let that presence build, and then it knows when to shut up. And that is something that a lot of movies now don't do. They always let the music just go auto, and it just runs like this constant bass. And I gotta hand it to the composers. The music is almost eccentric, but is kind of like similar to a lot of what The Conjuring sort of stuff kind of does, where one of the girls is sort of searching up on the Slender Man or in the mythos, and then she hears creaking, eases its way in, and then it's sort of like it's the librarian. That was kind of lame. I'm not gonna lie, it did kind of scare me. It's like that was really the only kind of fake out you're gonna get. Sort of the only point where I was like, okay, I think honestly if you made it quiet, like silence, that could have been a little creepier. And that could have sort of built the environment that they were doing, which is this completely distorted sense of reality. Now, the only thing that is genuinely bad in this movie, it's not the acting, it's absolutely not the directing, it is definitely not the cinematographer, and it's not really the writing, it's the visual effects. When you are creating this character, this is someone, the Slender Man, everybody knows who this is. If you're a millennial, you know who fucking Slender Man is. When you have this type of figure that is super tall, who has these very versatile arms, the CGI is like PS3 worthy. There is never a moment where I go, oh yeah, he's right there. Where I think the black girl is sort of looking around in her house. And this is one thing that's actually kind of funny about the movie. It's kind of like in the Fan 4 stick, where every place is just darkly lit as fuck. So she kind of looks into her living room, and then because of the window's reflection, you can see Slender Man creep up. The image of him, that silhouette, is a little too blurry. I think you needed to have something really concrete there. And I think this movie would have really benefited from practical effects, where you're trying to make this person, this very distorted person that you often only see in the dark or in the woods. The way the texture is on his face, that doesn't need CGI, that needs real texture. And the problem is also you see him a little too much. I would like to see Slender Man as, once you hear him, you know exactly where you are. You know exactly what's gonna happen. But if you're gonna show him, I think the best example this movie should have taken from is the Bride in Black from Insidious. That is someone who's actually there, who is horrifying to look at, will make one with the shadows in the room. But besides that, I am constantly shitting my fucking skirt. There is this real talent of this atmosphere, and I didn't know if this was actually gonna work. Already I felt, when they first showed us what they were doing in the woods, I was kind of concerned because I'm like, are they already not gonna get it? I was wondering because you can clearly tell in the original game, you're walking around in that forest, it really feels like a forest in the middle of the night. Now in this one, it almost looks like it belongs in like Harry Potter. You know, it's kind of has a green tint, super foggy. I don't think all those trees are actually there. So I was wondering, okay, are they already gonna miss the mark? No. This, wow. I honestly, when this movie ended, I could not talk for like 5 minutes, and I kept getting these goosebumps. This left such a piercing feeling. I think it owes a lot to the editing. This is honestly some of the best editing I've seen in years. The closest, at least in horror movies, I would say is Mr. Jones that came out a little while back. They really look like they are not in reality anymore. And when they are in this constant haze of terror and fear, and the way the background sort of pulls away, and it does it to this extreme degree. The way the music they use there, the way it's shot. This movie's shot gorgeously. I am gonna be so fucking done with the Oscars if this is not nominated. Some of these shots are Christopher Nolan worthy. The use of the iPhone, like the use of social media and like the technology, I feel like this is kind of a branch off of Unfriended, where the antagonist is sort of contacting you through like a Facebook Messenger sort of thing. I think it actually is very clever here. And this is what really makes me think this decade might be a new gateway into better ways to scare us. Because texting and emailing and phones, that it almost feels invasive when you're sort of seeing her go on this phone and she sees that someone is going up her stairs and her room is just around the corner. So it might sound a little tacky, and it might sound like this movie is going to be dated. These sort of things don't always work, and I think the person that they're contacting by like message, I think they could have said a little more scary lines. I just remember in Unfriended, I think the lines that the antagonist sort of says in those messages were just chilling. But I think they do a good job here, and it sort of surpasses the perception that this is gonna be a little goofy and tacky. I am amazed for something that is just an adaptation, we're getting this. We're getting something so fucking good that is like, I was thinking like, this is the best horror movie I've seen all year. Fucking Slender Man is the best horror movie I've seen all year. How? The only thing I don't like is, yeah, the effects are pretty bad, and I think the ending is kind of trying to elevate itself, where it's like, oh, we need to give this some sort of political commentary. I wasn't even listening. I was just kind of done. If they ended with just that tree, I would have been fucking sold. Beautiful. But no, they have to have shitty dialogue, kind of like at the end of Carrie, where I'm just like, wow, this totally just completely sucks out the entire state of terror that you just brought in. If I were you, I would just click off once that tree is sort of exiting out of the shot, and then you're fucking sold. Definitely, you need to friggin' see this movie. You need to. Just go. Just do it. Have a good night.